Welcome to episode 32 of the Soulful Menopause podcast. Today's show is all about prioritizing your energy to boost your health and well-being and reduce those crappy menopausal symptoms. Everything we do in life takes up energy. So if you use up too much energy on various things during your day, your body has less of it available for improving your health and balancing your hormones. Menopause is a really stressful time for your body. So the more stress and the more energy you expend in your life, the more likely you'll suffer from horrible symptoms. In today's episode, I'm sharing my personal story on how and why I had to prioritize my energy output. And I'm also giving you an easy 3-step process to create positive change in your life. Welcome to the Soulful Menopause podcast. Discover how to transform the chaos of menopause into vibrant health and a soulful life you'll love. I'm Sally Love, natural nutritionist and soul wisdom coach. I want you to experience a soulful menopause that'll guide you into the best years of your life. Hi there, I hope you're doing really well. Well, I'm back, yay! It's been quite a while since I produced a podcast episode, and I want to share with you why that is. Now, I've got a story to tell of what's been going on for me recently, and amongst it all, I've discovered some really powerful insights. Now, it would be a really long episode if I went into it all, so I'm going to share just one of those insights with you today that I feel could be really helpful for you. And it's all about questioning. Questioning ourselves, questioning the way that we're showing up in the world, how we're reacting to situations, how we do things, whether our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions are contributing to our health and well-being during menopause, or actually demolishing it. So I've got a really easy 3-step process to share with you that'll elicit some deep insight and healing into your life as you move through menopause. Now, as you've heard me say many times before, menopause brings the opportunity for major transformation on every level of our being: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. Now, unfortunately, even if menopause is spoken about right now, even if, it's only ever spoken about from a physical perspective. You know, only the physical issues of menopause are talked about, such as hot flashes. However, major shifts can and do happen on the emotional, mental, and the spiritual levels as well. And this is why I'm here talking about embracing a soulful menopause to you. You know, a menopause where we acknowledge this powerful rite of passage. A powerful rite of passage that offers us the opportunity to transform on every level of our being so that we can enter a new, empowering chapter in our lives. And that's it, it's empowering. You know, making sure that we're not continuing with things in our lives that aren't serving us. So, yes, you know, well, a lot of us will face chaos on a physical level with all the various health issues that can arise during menopause. But you may also, and you probably will also, experience shifts in other areas of your life, such as within your relationships, your job, your home life, your money, your spiritual life. You know, it's all part of this big change we're in at this time of our lives. And It's therefore really, really important that you take time to notice what's surfacing so that you can totally transform out of those old ways of being and step into a more fulfilling and healthy way of life. Somebody recently said to me, wow, I had no problems with menopause physically at all. I didn't realize that all of these things, other things happening in my life, such as where I live and my job and my money and things, were linked to menopause as well. And when she realized that, there was like a light switch going on. And then suddenly you feel empowered. You don't feel as if all these things are happening to you. You actually can feel, oh, wow, I can understand this now. And I can start to see why these things are coming into my life, what these things are showing me that I need to let go of so that I can transform into that new way of life. So this year for me, it has felt like every single one of those levels has been called into question all at once for me. Where do I begin? Let's begin at springtime, I think. At this springtime, my husband and I went through conscious uncoupling. And for those of you that haven't heard of conscious uncoupling, it was founded by Catherine Woodward Thomas. She's a licensed marriage and family therapist who, in my opinion, above all else, is a beautifully empowered woman. Now, she guides people through questioning their relationship dynamics, but equally questioning your own internal processes. So it's incredibly enlightening and, I must say, massively empowering. Anyway, what she does is help couples separate in a respectful and a loving way. And this creates a really beautiful, deep level of understanding and healing. And this was such a powerful experience for me that I'm actually considering training as a conscious uncoupling coach next year. I feel it would be such an important, supportive technique for women as they move through menopause, because at this time of life, we're questioning ourselves on every level, as I've just said. We question all aspects of our lives, including our relationships. And the trouble is that when we get into our 50s and beyond, so much fear can show up about leaving a partner. Even if you've only been with a partner for a short period of time, but especially so if you've been with a partner where you've brought your children up, etc. And then suddenly you get to this place where you think, well, this is just not me anymore. This is just not working for me. I'm not thriving in this relationship anymore. But the fears that come up can be, wow, what would it be like to be single in my 50s? What am I going to do? Where am I going to live? What will it be like to live a single life again at this age? And I think that can hold a lot of women back. Those fears that really show up can just stop us in our tracks from actually moving forward into a life that could be a lot more fulfilling. Anyway, my husband and I went into this process not sure whether we would separate or not when we began the course, but at the end we did decide together that uncoupling would be the best thing for both of us. Now, this is a fascinating topic, and I am going to speak a lot more of it, I am absolutely sure, in forthcoming episodes, and probably more so next year. So I'll leave that on the side for the moment, but we are definitely coming back to that topic. Okay, so after my husband and I decided to uncouple, we put our home on the market. Now, that in itself brought a lot into question for me, because this home is the place I have lived the longest, my entire life. I absolutely adore living here. We are immersed in the beauty of nature. This land, this home has taught me so much about my life and my values and my beliefs. It's been such an amazing healing place to be. So just deciding to put our house on the market and thinking about not living here anymore was really quite earth-shattering for me. And then my beloved dog, Millie, who was with me for a lot of major transitions in my life, it was just most of the time it was just her and me. She's also buried here as well. So, I had to deal with all of these emotions and these thoughts and these feelings that were coming up just from the idea of putting our house on the market. And for a long time, I was really uncertain whether I wanted to stay living in America or whether I wanted to return to the UK. And, that question, if not big enough as well, brought more questions such as, how I want to live in this next chapter of my life and what's most important for me to thrive. What's the best environment for me in order that I can thrive, in order that I can live a life that I really want? And well, what is that life? So, as you can understand, 1,000,001 questions. Anyway, I have ultimately now made a decision to move back to the UK, which is exciting, but also at the same time sad for leaving here and leaving behind certain aspects of how wonderful it's been to live here. However, here we are in October, as I am recording this, and our house still hasn't sold. So, my husband and I are living together in limbo. We're unable to move on with our new lives that sort of are waiting for us in the sidelines. And all I can say is I am just so thankful for the conscious uncoupling. Imagine what it would be like if we were at each other's throats, whereas instead we're still loving, we still love each other very much. We're still being very mindful of one another and loving towards one another and caring towards one another and respectful. And so I am immensely, immensely grateful of going through the process of conscious uncoupling, and for who he is as a person to be able to do that with me too. However, it's still a really stressful place to be right now. And because of all the stress I've had to face, unfortunately, it's come along with some health issues. And my gut health has been thrown completely out of balance. Now this, as a natural nutritionist and someone who eats really, really well, has been a massive shock to me. I mean, it taught me that no matter how amazingly you eat, no matter what supplements I was taking to support myself through menopause, no matter for the yoga I do every day, no matter for the meditation I do every day, and living in nature and being in nature and immersing myself in the healing energies of nature, it taught me that stress is a bulldozer. Yeah, and I had to deal with my shame with it as well. I was thinking, oh my word, how can me being a natural nutritionist who actually I do practice what I teach, I do my yoga and my meditation, everything, how can I be in this situation where my gut health is so out of balance? And then once your gut health becomes out of balance, the rest of your body becomes out of balance. So my hot flashes have been through the roof. I mean, I am on fire. And if you've listened to a previous episode where I say about embracing your hot flashes, well, I'm so grateful that I've been going through this time of the last several years of discovery of how to be with menopause, because I've been able to master it all now. And this feels so good to be able to just fully embrace where I am. And, even though I talk about mastery and mastering this, there's also the acknowledgement that, I'm still on a learning path. I'm still human. We're constantly on a learning path because we are humans. We can never know everything in life. So there's also a humility in that as well. So yes, I had to deal with my shame on top of it all. And menopause is a stressful enough event on your whole body, on your whole being. So add on all these other issues that I've been facing of divorce and moving and my health issues, and oh yeah, there's COVID as well. I'd forgotten about that. That really is in the background in my life right now. Thankfully as well, because I haven't had that. So I'm very thankful for that. But yeah, menopause is a stressful enough event on your entire being. So add on all those other issues and it can very quickly, very easily become an overflowing cup. So with all of this going on, I realized that I had to prioritize. I realized that I had to focus on my health and processing my current situation in a really healthy way. So it had to take center stage in my life. Now, the thing is, if you expend a lot of energy on a load of various other things in your life, you'll have less and less energy for your own body to use for its healing and balancing. So I was very aware of that. So I began to question everything in my life that used up my energy. I mean, everything. I looked at the physical things I did, day to day. I looked at the mental and the emotional and the spiritual things. And so my podcast was part of this questioning process. And this was really tough for me because on one level, the podcast industry will say how vitally important it is to be consistent. Now, if you say you're going to release a show every week, then you must release a show every week. Otherwise, you'll not be successful and your podcast will dive into obscurity. The thing is that for my podcast, it's important to me that I produce episodes that are nurturing and inspiring for you. I put a tremendous amount of time and energy into them. And I'm not at all interested in just putting together another episode and putting it out there so that I can keep up with my schedule. For me, each episode needs to be something of value for you. And, well, to prove this, I've recorded several episodes in the past that just haven't fully resonated with me, haven't sounded right, haven't been the right energy. And so I've binned them. Yep, I've just let them go, even after doing many hours of work on them. The thing is that soulful menopause is my soul work. It's my soul's calling to be doing this, to be walking this path with you. And my podcasts are a big part of my soul work. It's my passion. It's my strong desire to make a positive change in the world. And all of this is a big part of my new chapter in life. Soulful menopause is really having a highlight for this next chapter in my life. So the mere act of questioning my podcasts and continuing to do them was really challenging. I not only had the industry saying how important it was to show up every week, but my soul was calling me to do this as well. So in times like these, it is so easy to question something we love and only listen to what we want to hear. I'm going to say that again because this was really quite an awareness for me. It's really easy to question something we love, but then to only listen to what we want to hear. Okay? So the thing is, we can get really stubborn about it. We can find all the excuses under the sun as to why we should continue with it. We can overlay a fantasy idea of how we want life to be, how it could be. And then we just become totally blind to the truth. And I can say that that's the same with the conscious uncoupling I went through. The fear of being single in my 50s came up, as well as many other fears came up as well for me. That would totally skew my thinking. It would throw up all of these emotions, and fear is such a powerful emotion. It can totally change the way you think and the way you act. Anyway, as I said, there's going to be more on that another time. So in the end, after processing the many questions, the gazillion questions I asked myself, honestly, my journal is full of questions. I realized that it was in my best interest, and yours as well, to put my podcast on hold for a while. I decided to let go of all the shoulding about having to be consistent with my content. I let go of the fear and the beliefs that my podcast will die without my presence for a while. I let go of the thought that if I'm not doing my podcast, I'm not doing my soul work. And you know what? That was really huge for me, because in the letting go, I realized that I did some major soul work that I can now, of course, share with you. So that was a wonderful insight that came from that. And I also let go of many other things as well that weren't serving me in the present. So I'm encouraging you during your chaos of menopause, whatever's showing up for you right now, to just start questioning what you're doing and why you're doing it, and to prioritize your well-being on every level: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. So I've got 3 steps to share with you, 3 steps that will help you easily start questioning your life and start coming up with some really beautiful, deep insights and healing as you're moving through menopause. Now, I'm a big fan of journaling. As I've said, I teach it a lot on my retreats and with my one-to-one clients as well, because I find it a very powerful way to uncover many hidden insights. And I've got a lot of different techniques in how to do journaling. But for now, the 3 steps that I want to share with you. Step 1, question. Question what you're doing. Question what you're thinking, and question what you're feeling. Why am I doing this? Why am I feeling this? Why am I thinking this? And then step 2 is to ask if there's another way of being with this. So, is it really necessary for me to continue with this right now? And it's important that right now is very important. Is it really necessary for me to continue with this right now? Because let's say, for example, you took up long distance running when you were in your 20s or your 30s or whatever, and you've continued doing it through menopause, and you're having a really tough time with menopause, and maybe lots of physical issues are showing up for you. High impact exercise can actually be detrimental during menopause, because think about what I was just saying, expending all your energy on things, your body doesn't have as much energy for your own healing. And it can be a very stressful thing for your body to go through. So sometimes deciding, okay, even though I love this so much, it may not actually be supporting my health right now. So right now, it may be time for me to turn my attention to yoga or hiking instead, and then maybe bring it back in at a later date. And really take time to just question this. As I said, we can easily find excuses as to why we continue with things that aren't really serving us. And then, if you come to the conclusion that it's still important for you to keep that activity up, maybe, for example, housework, you don't want to be a slob, then you could always ask yourself how it could be done differently. Is there another way that could be more fun? Or how could I make it easier on myself or less stressful? And using the housework idea, perhaps you could decide that you could get a cleaner occasionally, even if it's just once a month. Or perhaps there are other members of your family that could contribute. Or perhaps if you live by yourself, you can decide that you just tidy up after yourself every day, just for 10 minutes a day, and then you don't have a whole big thing to do all at once. So you can explore all these different possible avenues for you to go down. And then step 3 is change. Change is where you change your behavior. You ask for help, you delegate it, you drop it all together like I did for my podcast episodes just recently. You do something differently. Okay, so step 1 is to question. Question what you're doing, question what you're thinking, question what you're feeling. Step 2, ask if there's another way of being with this. How can it be done differently? And step 3, change. Do something differently. Ask for help, delegate it, let go of it altogether. So, because I'm now feeling better physically, I've got more energy to put back into my podcast again. Yay! Because I love doing it and I really love being there for you. However, I'm now embracing the 3rd step of change by moving to a different way of showing up for my podcasts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to produce them only when I have the energy and the inspiration to do so. And it's important to me that I do this in a beautiful, gentle, easy flow. So please make sure you subscribe to this podcast so that you can get a notification when I do produce an episode, because they're going to be will be sporadic for quite a while. And maybe they'll be sporadic for the rest of the time that this podcast is in operation. We shall see. I don't know. See which way it takes me. So please do subscribe now, and then also hop over to my website, soulfulmenopause.com, to make sure you've got your free magical forest meditation. That meditation is designed to take you on a beautiful, magical journey where you can actually relieve some anxiety and some stress and some sleepless nights. So whatever is showing up for you in menopause at the moment, this will be a really helpful tool that will just really help to nurture you and calm you down. And, I've had several emails from people who've been struggling with insomnia, which is a very common symptom of menopause. And they've said that they've fallen asleep within minutes of beginning the meditation. So I hope if you are having some sleep issues that it helps you in that way too. Whatever way, I hope it really helps you. To find out more about how you can live a soulful menopause, please visit soulfulmenopause.com. I'm really looking forward to being with you again soon. Bye for now.